Joining us now is Congressman Khanna of California. He's a member of the Oversight Committee and is a member also of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. So, Congressman, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
Darlene, always a pleasure.
The economy is the top issue for voters. That's the thing that we hear all the time. So with these new jobs numbers and gas prices going down, do you think that translate to perhaps more support for the president and Democrats whose policy choices actually you can say that they brought about many of these positive results?
Darlene, it should. I mean, this has been the best week, I agree with you, of Joe Biden's presidency. You have the president has passed now the American Rescue Plan, which put money in the pockets of Americans and avoided the recession, has led to the job creation that we see. The president passed and signed the infrastructure bill that has helped rebuild America, getting broadband to places, rebuilding our bridges, airports. The president passed the CHIPS Act. That was legislation I led, so I'm passionate about it. We're bringing semiconductors back to America. We're making things in this country. And we're going to now pass the largest ever investment in climate that any nation has ever passed in history. And that's under this president's leadership. So this president has had a historic 2 years, and it's about time that he starts to get the credit for that.
So how do you plan on taking the message to voters so that Democrats and the president are able to get some of that credit? And what I mean is votes at the ballot box. You were a big advocate of the Build Back Better package that didn't become a law, but now you have a smaller package in the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, what message are you going to take to Democratic voters and hopefully get them to support the Democrats in the midterms?
Well, Zerlina, as you know, I was talking to Senator Manchin for almost a year, and here's my message to Democrats. This is the biggest investment in climate by orders of magnitude that any country has ever made. We're going to get solar panels, we're going to get wind, we're going to get battery, we're going to get heating pumps, we're going to unleash trillions of dollars in the private sector. Second, this is finally, Democrats are making good on their promise to have Medicare negotiate to bring prescription drugs prices lower. Donald Trump used to talk about it. We're actually doing it. Third, this bill is actually going to provide health insurance, expand health insurance for those who can't afford the escalating premiums. This bill is actually going to make a difference in people's lives. And that is what we have to do. And the president releasing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is one of the reasons that gas prices have fallen. So I think we have to go talk about it. Talk about the two factories that are going to come up in the state of Ohio. $20 billion, revitalizing that place because of the CHIPS Act that the president's going to sign on Tuesday.
Congressman, one of the things that is happening in this pandemic is a lot of people are quitting their jobs. And the Washington Post reports, quote, the number of Americans quitting their jobs remains high, although lower than its peak earlier this year in a phenomenon known as the Great Resignation. The hot labor market has allowed workers to demand higher wages and better conditions, particularly in leisure and hospitality sectors. While the trend is softening, the quit rate remains at a 20-year high. You know, we were talking in the earlier segment with experts on the economy, and there are a lot of like Harvard economists that are like, wages are too high and we need to increase the unemployment rate. And I'm like, I don't know, if your economic system requires those two things, maybe there's a flaw. There's a hitch in the giddy up, as my dad would say. Do you think that, you know, our system requires a little bit of a recalibration and perhaps a bigger imagination, given the fact that we're in a pandemic and we're trying to figure out how to make sure that workers are paid living wages and are protected as they go out and do their essential jobs?
Yes, Serlina. I mean, we need higher wages for the working and middle class. Let me give you one statistic that basically affirms what you're saying. Since 1980, the working class and middle class in America have lost 25% of wealth. They are being underpaid for the work they're doing. This is true about Starbucks workers in my state. This is true about fast food workers. This is true about many service workers. And if they are finally getting a little bit of a raise, that's good news. They're finally earning the wage they should for the jobs they're doing. One of the reasons we have a great resignation is people weren't getting paid what they should. They weren't being treated with the dignity that they should be treated. If you raise the wages of these jobs, then people would, and tax the billionaires, tax the wealth, the stock trades to be able to do that.
Congressman Khanna of California, thank you so much for being here today. Please stay safe. Coming up,